Hello everybody, I'm Avian. We are working our way through how to make a Stardew Valley mod using my Garden Cottage mod as an example as we go. We did animation descriptions last time, and this time we are ready to make a schedule for Jean and Kenna, the two characters I have been setting up for my Maple Park location. So let me go ahead and get the screen up for us. The first thing I want to do is go through the Stardew Valley wiki because it's got all your schedule data information on their schedule data page. This is going to be very similar to how we set up dialogue, in that you'll have a key to days, seasons, you can do location even, and then depending on what that key says, it will then say on this day or this season or during this festival, for example, character follows the following schedule. So if we go through our modding schedule data page, you can see our schedule key is going to be on the left side, and then any information you need to know about that schedule key is on the right. So for example, if you look here on, let's see, let me go in this normal schedules, you can have a festival specific schedule, such as when the night market is active. So for example, if it's a passive festival, it would say night market and then the day the night market applies to. Similarly, you would do season, and you could do day of week or day of month. So you could say, in this example, spring 15, or you could say spring Mondays. There are specific things for rainy day schedule. So you would be rain, and on rainy days, certain things happen. You could set the same thing to always happen specifically on a Sunday. So for example, on every Sunday, say your character goes to the Shrine of Yoba and sits, and then goes to the saloon, and then goes home. If it's the same, you can just do the specific day of the week. So there's all of these keys that you can read through and find what you think you like best and use those keys and then put your schedule in. So the way it works is, you can kind of see in this example where you have your key. So this specific example is for Wednesdays. You can write it either way they're showing you. I like to do all in one line because I find for me it's easier for me to find the days I'm looking for. But you do your key, and then you have your time, your location, the map coordinates on where they stand, and then you have the /, which tells it the next section, and then your next section is the same. It's the new time, the new location, the new XY coordinates. And then this last number there, that is the direction they're facing. And then you go, and then you can end with the sleep animation like this one does, where it says Abigail_sleep. Anytime you put animation in, it goes right before your / after your XY coordinates. And then we have a couple things that you could still do. You could do go to, where if your days are identical, you just write it out once, and then the next time you duplicate that day, you just say go to, and then the key of the day you want it to copy. If you don't have a certain amount of hearts, you can have a separate schedule. That's how sometimes they have the characters change schedule based on heart amounts. So for example, if you don't have friendship with Sebastian of 6 hearts, then the next default, which is your spring schedule, will play. So, and then if it's just not, unless you follow it by friendship, that doesn't do anything. You can do something based on your mail ID. There's different things. And then this explains your schedule points inside that line we were talking about. So specific rules for location or XY, like this one just tells you it's the XY is the coordinates that NPC walks to. Your facing direction left, so it's 0 up, 1 right, 2 down, 3 left. And it'll default to down. Oh, this is location notes about like if it's going to a location that's not available, then there is a replacement destination that it'll get, or it'll go to the default schedule. So there's logic coded in. And then here is the section we talked about in our animation description video about how to do animation descriptions and how to do strings should your character need a specific dialogue when they reach their destination. I prefer to do that part in the dialogue, but this is another method you could use if you choose to do so. So let's go ahead and talk about how to do that in code inside your JSON file. So I've got our Maple Park JSON set up here. So you can see we've got our changes section and everything. Because these are smaller characters, I'm doing everything for them in the same JSON. So you will go into your changes section on whatever JSON you're adding this to. You're going to add a new set of curly brackets under changes. I'm going to do that down here where I have my schedule set up. So for our schedules, I'm going to do this twice. I need to put a comma to tell it I'm doing a new section. Open and close, and because I'm doing schedules for both Kenna and Jean, I'm making 2 new sections, which is why I'm starting it there. One of the things I found helpful, and you can see I've done this here, is I've written out a schedule and approximate notes on the schedule that I want them to follow so that when I code, I can just reference down here as opposed to trying to think about it as I do it. That I think about it beforehand, make the plan, do all the code at once, and I find I make less mistakes that way. So for a schedule, put a new line, and I've got Father Joseph's schedule up because it's easier for me to reference on a tab instead of in the chart. So you're going to want your log name, your action, your target, and your entries. So it's going to be log name, 2 quotes, log name inside your quotes, colon, new set of quotes, and with a comma. Then here, I'm going to tell it whose schedule it is. And that way, if something goes wrong, that is the log name that's going to pop up for me. Okay, new line. And do action, colon, edit data. Oh, I'm going to end that with a comma. Same thing for Jean. New line, quotes, target is next. And we want characters / schedules. Let me copy that over just because I know I put that correct. And then I need their internal name. Because if it doesn't match the internal name, then it's not going to make your character follow the schedule because it's not going to know that that's the character you want. So I am replacing Father Joseph with KennaWilliams.mp because that is the internal name that I have set for Kenna. Same thing down here with Jean, set of quotes, target, colon, and it's characters / schedules. And then I'm going to go up and I'm going to copy Jean's internal name just to make sure it's spelled the exact same. There it is. There's Jean. It's JeanWilliams.mp. Very important to use your internal character name exactly the same way you put it in your character data setup. Our next section is going to be entries. So quotes, entries, colon. This one's different. This one is your curly bracket. Open and close. There we go. Entries, colon, curly bracket, open and close. So now everything that we set their schedule for is going to go between our second pair of curly brackets into the entry category for them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a default spring schedule, because if anything happens where it needs to move to a default, if the spring is not set up, then it breaks. You can also, if I remember correctly, I believe they used to call it default. I'm going to just search to see if that is still the case. Defaults. Yes, so right here they do tell you that calling it default was a thing, but it is recommended that spring will be used instead if the default's not there. So this one where you see spring, where it just says spring and you see the always applies, this tells you right here, all caps, we have to have a spring schedule no matter what. So that is the first one I'm going to set up. And the way we do that is it's quotes, spring goes in, spring becomes our key, colon, second set of quotes, and a comma. So just like we did with dialogue, I like to set up my keys first, and that way I can then go and fill out the actual schedule portion altogether and follow the same formatting. So now that we have a spring key, it'll go there. Nothing will happen until we actually put the information between that second set of quotes. But I now know, because I set this up down here, that I want specific days for each season. So I'm going to set spring is going to be my default, and I'm going to use that as my default spring. I also want a summer. I want one for each season. Summer. Enter. Oh, colon. So those are our seasons. I also want to set up a special key for my balloon festival that I'm making that runs the summer 13th through 15th. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double check the season day. It's day of month. Season day of month. So it would be spring, summer 13, 14, 15. So for your season day of month, it's just like that. Festival. Oh, that needs to be 15. Season. And then if you wanted to do something based on a festival day, so for example, you could do this. You could do where you could do it night market, and then the day, or you can do. Let me see if there's a key for. Yeah, there's not. I'm not seeing a specific key for the specific festivals, so I'm going to keep it the way I have been doing it, where I just look at the calendar on the Stardew calendar and do it by season, day of month. I do know, however, that I want a rain. So for our rainy season, it's the key. Oh, it's just rain. And this way, when it rains, your character will always do this on rain. Or if you have rain too, it becomes a 50% possibility of following the secondary schedule on a rain day. But I'm trying to keep the scope creep down and not get overly complicated. So this is what I'm going to do for my schedules is standard schedule per day of the week. For the festival I set up, which is the whole point of having these characters, is so they can give the farmer information on the festival, and then a rain day. So next, we have to actually fill this in. So for this, I recommend having your map open because you're going to want to grab your XY coordinates. All right, so I have my map open, and I need also the inside of their house. And then this is the house map that I've built. So I am using tiled. So when you use tiled, it's really easy to grab your XY coordinates. You can hover over a space. So say I'm going to use this dot icon so you can see where I'm hovering. So if I want them to stand in front of the microwave right there, I would hover over the space. I'm going to look in the lower left-hand corner at the very bottom. Now, if I move my mouse, it goes away, so it's harder to show. So I'll try to put a circle on the screen or something. And I've been over this also in our map building thing. But if I hover over the space, tiled will tell me that that square is 10, 6. So X coordinate 10, Y coordinate 6. So that is how you can really quickly reference your XY coordinates. So now the first thing when you set your schedule is you can do several things, but where you start your schedule is the time in which your character will begin moving. So if you say at 6 o'clock do this, then right at 6 o'clock they're going to go do this. And then the way you want to do it is if you want them to stay in bed, you can set your time to 6:10 or 8 o'clock, and they will stay in bed to that point, and then they will start moving to go do the next thing. So it's not arriving at tile at that time. It is leaving the tile before it at that time. And I'll try to explain better as we do this. If you need your character to start somewhere other than their home spawn tile, which is what you set in your character data, then you can do what is called a zero schedule. So for example, if on rain days I need them to start at a specific spot, I would type in 0 and then do the location X, Y, and direction. Oh, helps if I spell that correctly. Typically, I like to let my characters start out in bed, so I will start them at 6:10. Then I will have the location name. I'm going to open my location file real quick so I can grab the correct location names. Because again, your location needs to be spelled exactly the way it's set up in your location data. And because I'm using custom locations, I need to make sure I put whatever I put. For the vanilla game locations, it's pretty easy to remember because it's like town, bus stop, mountain. In my case, I did a TGC_MP trailer for their trailer. So spring, location name, XY. See, Kenna's going to be in the middle of the bed. She is. I'm trying to think, she would be right here. 25, because then her head pops up on the pillow. So the coordinates you put in are the coordinates their feet stand on. $25. Her default is 3. And then I want to do an animation description. So it is going to be, I have that open as well, as I'm going to go to Kenna Snooze right here. I'm going to copy how I wrote that. And that is the animation description we set up in the last video of her being asleep. Now you do notice there is a Kenna sleep down here, right here. If I put that in, that locks her into a sleep state for the entire day. So do not use your underscore sleep animation until you actually intend to send them to bed, because that will lock them in the sleep section. They will not talk to anybody. They might walk around, but you're not going to get any dialogue or any interaction or be able to give them gifts or anything like that. So you want to set up a secondary for what I call nap time. So we go in, copy the animation. That's the one I want to be at. And you do, after your direction, you do a space, and then your sleep animation, or your sitting animation, or whatever animation you want them to do once they reach that square. And so in this case, they're going to stay in bed till 6:10. And then they're going to go outside, and they're going to sit in their chairs, and they're going to have their coffee. So I'm going to go to my outdoor map. I'm going to find Kenna's chair is 105.72. I'm going to go to my locations. I believe it's TGC _ Maple Park. But I put it at the end here. It is TGC Mapleview Park. So let's see, what time do I want them to have coffee? Let's say it's 7 o'clock. She's going to go to her chair. Confirm that was 105.72. It's 105.72. She's going to face down. And then we're going to drink our coffee. So it's going to be Kenna _ drink. So I can leave that now because I've got what I needed from it. Score drink. So what this means is prior to 6:10, she is in her bed because that is her home spawn location. It is also the first location that I have set in my schedule. So because that is, I've set it in the schedule, she's going to start at 25 up to 6:10. She's going to be in that spot because that's our first spot. At 6:10, she's going to stay in that spot. And then at 7 o'clock, you'll notice we're using military time here. At 7 o'clock, she is going to get up and go outside. So she's not going to arrive at her chair at 7. She is going to move to her chair at 7. And then she is going to sit in her chair and have her coffee. So this is where I'm going to reference what I said our Monday schedule was. So coffee outside, they got to do their job. So Kenna and Jean are campground hosts. So that means they're going to clean the campground. They're going to host hikes. They're going to direct people with directions and basically enjoy nature. And so because cleaning is part of their job on Mondays and Thursdays, I had set them to go clean. So now my next location is going to be the bathrooms. There it is. So I'm going to copy our location name. I'm going to go up here to her spots. We're going to say at 11 o'clock. Oh, I want 11 o'clock, not 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. They're going to go to the bathroom map. And they're going to do their cleaning. Let's see, I needed... Do I have it open? I do not have it open. Okay. So I need to open that map file. There it is. She's going to 11:15. She's going to face up. Animation description. I have a Kenna_clean. Okay. And then we'll say at, say 2 o'clock. So 1400. She's going to go back to our park map. They're going to take out the trash. So she is, I'm trying to decide. Yeah, let's have her get the bus stop trash, and then Jean will get the put stuff in the dumpster. So we're going to put her at 8176. I need my location in there. She is going to face up. Oh, I need to get that period out of there. So she's going to stand there and get the trash. And then at 1600, she's going to go back to her chair. And she's just going to sit in her chair and enjoy her evening. So I have Kenna sit, where she just sits and enjoys. And let's see, who did I assign? Okay, so Jean is going to make dinner on Mondays, and then Kenna's going to do the dishes on Mondays. So I'm trying to think in military time, and I'm not used to it, and my brain is short-circuiting just a bit. So 1600 is 5 o'clock. So 1800. No, 1600 is 4 o'clock. So we will say 1900 is 7 o'clock. We're going to go back to the trailer. Her sink. Oh, okay. Here's a conundrum. I have made their sink face the viewer, but her washing dishes animation faces away. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to go fix her sprite later. But that is fine. We will put it in. I'll fix the sprite. We'll be fine. So 11:06 is the spot where she's going to stand. And I need the dishes. Okay. 19. We'll see at 23. So that's 11 p.m. They will go to bed. And her spot. Oh, I already had it. I don't need to go look it up because I started her out in her spot. And this time, we're going to use her sleep. So now she's going to go to bed, and because that underscore sleep is written there in her schedule, it's going to send her to sleep, and she won't be able to be interacted with after 11 o'clock. So we have just done 8 different schedule days, just telling it to go to the one we wrote out. And that is really actually the basics of your schedule. I'm going to go through and continue filling this out, and if I hit anything interesting, I'll put it in the video. And when I'm done, you'll get to see what this looks like when it's done.